The message from the widow in the dark silence of deep space. The stars shine like cold eyes, watching everything and saying nothing. The ship named. The Lancer moves slowly through the void, its lights blinking like a heartbeat lost in time inside. The ship captain Rian sits alone in the command seat. His face is calm, but his eyes look tired. He has been out here too long looking for answers that never come. Control panel suddenly blinks. A new signal has arrived. It is weak, almost broken. Like it has traveled through storms and dust and years. The message keeps repeating over and over. It is a voice. A female voice, soft but shaking. Please. Listen to me. They are watching me. I am not crazy. Rian leans closer. He presses a button to clear. The static. The voice becomes clearer. Now they told everyone I am mad. They said. I lost my mind when my mate died. But he was not killed. He was taken. Please. If anyone hears this, please do not trust them. The voice stops, then starts again from the beginning. Repeating again and again. Rian sits still for a long moment. The space around him seems colder now. He opens a channel to command and tells them about the signal. The answer comes quickly. Do not follow it. That is from the alien widow. She is mentally broken. Her people say she lost her mind long ago. Ignore it and continue your mission. But Rian keeps listening to the message. The voice is too real, too full of pain and fear to be fake. He remembers stories told in the academy about a widow from a distant planet, her name forgotten, her story ignored. They said she kept sending messages into space after her partner disappeared. They said she started talking to ghosts. They said she believed something was hunting her. The message continues. Was not killed. I know he is alive. They made it look like an accident. They lied to everyone. I have proof. Please someone help. Marion leans back, his fingers tapping the console, his thoughts spinning like stars outside. What if she is telling the truth? What if this is not madness but warning? He checks the signal origin. It comes from a planet called Orbos 9. A dead place marked off limits by the Alliance. Strange energy readings, no life signs. Dangerous storms and ruins of old alien cities. Rian feels a chill down his back. He knows going there means breaking orders, risking his ship, his life, and his name. But something in the voice, something in those words feels real, feels right. He opens a private channel to the ship AI and speaks quietly. Set course for Orbos 9. The AI blinks in surprise, then responds. Coordinates set. Captain confirming override of command restrictions. Rian closes his eyes for a second, breathes in deep, then opens them again, his gaze hard. Now begin jump sequence. The ship hums louder. Lights change course. Plotted engines warming. Space outside seems to bend around them as they fly. Rian listens to the message again and again, her voice like wind in a forgotten forest, like music that remembers pain, like hope that refuses to die. They said she was mad. But sometimes madness is just a name for truth no one wants to hear. Far away on Orbos 9, a signal tower still works somehow, still sending out her words through storms and silence. They are coming for me soon, but I will keep speaking until someone hears me, until someone knows I was not wrong. The Lancer moves faster. Stars blur around it, like whispers, like warnings. Rian watches the screen as the planet grows closer, a brown and blue world surrounded by rings of dust and shadow. The AI speaks again, approaching destination. Unknown structures. Detected surface unstable. Rian grips the console and says nothing, but inside his heart beats faster, not with fear but with a strange feeling, something between hope and dread. In the shadows of space, in the silence of stars, the voice of the widow waits. Still calling, still crying, and for the first time someone is coming to listen. The Forbidden's planet. The stars had changed shape by the time Rian reached Orbos 9. Their light no longer sharp but blurred, as if the universe itself hesitated to look at this place. The ship slowed, its speed lowering into orbit above the planet, which spun quietly beneath like a secret trying to hide from time. The surface looked burned and broken. Large cracks ran across dark brown soil. Steam rose from deep fissures, and in the center of a dead valley stood an old signal tower, blinking red and green, the same pattern as the voice that haunted Rian's ship inside the Lancer. Rian stood near the exit ramp, his breath slower, his eyes scanning the data on the screen. Strange energy readings, strong radiation patches, and signs of movement. Though no life forms registered, the planet seemed empty and yet alive at the same time. He took his gear slowly, one piece at a time, his suit sealed tight, his visor down, his weapon charged, though he hoped not to use it. His ship AI gave a final warning: atmosphere unstable, seismic activity detected, communication may be lost. Rian gave a single nod, then walked into the airlock. As the door opened, the light outside changed. It was not sunlight, but something softer, colder, as if the planet's sky was made of smoke and mirrors. Dust blew across his visor as he stepped down the ramp, his boots hitting dry, cracked stone beneath his feet. The ground felt hollow, like walking on a sleeping giant below. Each step toward the tower echoed too loudly in his ears, as if the world around him wanted him to stop, turn back, forget the voice, forget the truth. But he kept walking until he reached the tower, tall and rusted, its wires hanging like dead vines. The control panel on its side sparked once, then twice, then powered up as if welcoming him. Screen lit up blue, and the message played. Again, the same voice, soft but clearer. Now you came. I knew someone would. They tried to bury my words, but I kept speaking. I kept hoping. Rian looked around but saw no one. The valley stretched wide and empty, the shadows long and shifting like they had thoughts of their own. Then a shape moved near the rocks, thin and tall, not human, not threatening, just standing there as if waiting for him to see her. The alien widow, Velari, her skin pale and glowing, her eyes deep pools of silver sorrow, her hair like strands of night twisted by wind. She said nothing at first, only looked at Rian with a gaze that seemed to carry years of silence. Rian stepped closer, his voice calm but alert. Are you the one who sent the message? She nodded once, then spoke, her voice the same as the recording, but softer, more tired. They said I was mad because I refused to forget. I refused to believe what they told me. My mate did not die, he was taken, and you humans helped them. Rian paused, the words heavy in the air between them. What do you mean? Who took him? Velari turned and began to walk without answering her. Steps slow but sure, she moved toward the cliff edge beyond the tower, and Rian followed her until they reached a wide opening in the ground where stairs carved from stone led deep below. They made this place a long time ago, she said. Not my people, not yours, but another kind. They studied minds here. Twisted memories broke the rules of life and death. The air grew colder as they descended, blue lights flickering along the walls, ancient symbols glowing faintly, machines long dead, yet humming softly as if still dreaming. At the bottom they reached a chamber filled with tall capsules, some cracked, some empty, some still closed and frosted with ice. Each one marked with numbers and names, both in alien script and human code. Rian stepped forward and read one of the names, and his breath caught. That is a human. Mama. Velari nodded slowly, her voice now shaking. Yes, they brought humans here before you. Knew before your people claimed peace. Your leaders made dark deals. They used us, they used you, and they used my mate to build something they could not control. A sound echoed through the chamber, like breathing, but far too loud and far too deep to be natural. Rian raised his weapon, his eyes scanning the darkness, but Velari held up her hand. Not yet. They will not come while we speak. They always listen, but they fear truth. She turned to face him fully, now her hands shaking, but her eyes strong. I have proof. I hid it here before they silenced the others. I cannot leave this place, but you can. If you take it, the world will know what happened. Rian stared at her, then at the sleeping machines, then at the shadow that now moved slowly across the far wall, without form, without shape, just hunger and hate. He did not know what to believe, but he knew one thing: this was no madness. This was memory, this was warning, and someone had to hear it. Voices in the dark, the chamber below, Orbo's 9, breathed like a living thing, each pulse in the air like a whisper, too soft to understand, too loud to ignore the machines around. Rian and Velari stood tall and silent, their lights flickering like dying stars, their shapes half forgotten and half remembered. By time Rian moved carefully through the room, his steps slow, his weapon held tight. Though no enemy showed its face, his heart beat faster with each capsule. He passed each name etched into cold glass, each frozen figure staring back with closed eyes. And silent lips he looked at Vilari and spoke in a low voice, meant only for her. "How many of them are human?" She raised her hand and pointed across the room, her voice calm but heavy. 37 humans, 21 from your own colonies, all taken, all declared dead, all forgotten. Their minds used, their bodies tested. Some were never found again. Some still sleep here. Rian turned toward one of the closed pods. A faint blue light blinking at its base. He stepped closer and wiped the frost from the glass. The face inside was peaceful, almost smiling. A young man with scars across his neck. The name on the tag read Elias Mornrian. Stepped back quickly. That name had echoed in his academy during his training missions. Elias had been a hero in early colony defense, vanished during a scouting trip, lost with no trace left behind. He was here all along. Before he could speak again, a sound crawled through the chamber, like soft breathing mixed with metal. Bending under pressure, not one voice, but many speaking at once, not in words, but in feelings. Furpalanalan looked up toward the ceiling, her silver eyes glowing with sudden alertness. They are waking again. The machines do not hold them forever. When minds are torn from their roots, they seek voices to anchor themselves, and now they sense yours. Rian stepped away from the pods, but the whispers followed like threads wrapping around his mind. He heard a boy calling for his mother. Soldiers screaming in a loop, a soft laugh turning into a cry. What is this place? Riala Vilari walked toward a broken wall and touched a panel hidden under the dust. It opened slowly, revealing a staircase leading down into even darker space. This is not just a lab, it is a prison for thoughts, for souls. They did not just take bodies, they captured memories, twisted emotions, removed names and replaced them with commands. They tried to create perfect soldiers who did not question, who did not feel, who did not dream. Rian hesitated, then followed her down the stairs. Each step colder than the last, each breath harder, as if the air itself resisted their presence. The path led to a narrow hallway, filled with mirrors along the walls, broken and dirty, but still reflecting strange shapes that moved when they did not. At the end of the hall, a door waited, tall and smooth, with no handle. No lock, just a faint humming sound coming from behind it. Vilari placed her hand against it and whispered something. In her own language, the door melted away like fog, revealing a small chamber lit by soft green lighting. The center sat a box covered in carvings and wires, its surface pulsing like a heartbeat. Rian walked around it slowly, the whispers louder now. Clearer voices of humans and aliens mixed together, sharing the same pain, the same fear. Vilari touched the box and spoke with steady words. "This is where I hid the memories before they found me. I pulled them from the machine and placed them here. The truth they never wanted, shared it, holds the thoughts of those who were lost, even my mate." Rian knelt beside the box and reached out his hand. The moment his fingers touched it, a wave of images crashed through his mind, burning light, screaming faces, explosions, silence, then a single clear voice. "Help us tell them, stop the circle." He gasped and pulled back, but the connection remained, a thread now tied to his thoughts, a key placed in his mind. Vilari looked at him and spoke softly. "You are part of this now. The machine knows you. It will follow you even if you leave it. May try to speak through your dreams, through your fears, but it must not be forgotten, not again." Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed through the hall, like metal tearing open, like claws on glass. The lights flickered, then died. The silence returned, but deeper than before. Vilari turned her head toward the entrance, her voice flat. "They have felt the box awakening. They are coming to stop it." Rian grabbed the box and stood tall, the weight not heavy in body but heavy in soul. His eyes met hers. "Then we run and we make sure someone hears this together." They moved quickly through the dark, the whispers now turning into angry voices, shadows moving along the walls, not chasing, but warning, not hunting, but calling. They wanted to be remembered. They wanted to be heard, and now one human carried their voice into the stars. Lies of the Empire. The wind on Arbos 9 did not howl. It whispered. It carried voices not born from breath, But born from machines, from memories that refused to die, the sky above turned darker, though no clouds moved across it, as if time itself had slowed to listen. Rian and Valari moved through the ash-covered rocks, the box of memories wrapped in thick cloth tied to Rian's back. Each step felt heavier, though the ground remained the same. The weight was not in his legs, but in his mind behind. Then the shadows shifted, the air sometimes shimmered like something unseen moved just beyond the edge of sight, but nothing came close, not yet, not while they still carried the truth. Valari led him toward a ridge where the land broke open, revealing the remains of an old station, half buried in dust, its roof caved in, its walls scorched by something older than fire. This was the first site. The first experiments were done here before they built the deeper labs, before they learned how to steal thoughts. Rian entered behind her, the scent inside sharp like burned wires, mixed with cold stone. Consoles lined the walls, all dark, their screens cracked but still humming as if they remembered. He wiped dust from a central panel, and the machine came to life. The screen flickered and then played a recording. Without sound, just video, old and grainy, showing humans in black uniforms standing over alien subjects, strapped to tables, wires feeding into their heads. Rian looked away, his fists tight, his voice low. I was taught we brought peace after the war, that we helped rebuild, that we made alliances with alien worlds to prevent this kind of pain. Valari stepped beside him, her eyes not angry but full of something deeper. They rewrote the truth. The Empire changed what it meant to be right. They gave medals to murderers and called it peace. They erased screams and called it silence. The screen changed again, this time showing a name in large bold text: Experiment 043. Subject human Lieutenant Kale Draven. Status terminated. Rian froze, his heart thudding louder than any wind, louder than any voice in the air. That name carved itself into his mind. Because it was his brother, he stared at the word terminated, his lips unable to form questions because his thoughts screamed too loud. They said he died on a mission, lost in space, no body recovered. Declared a hero, posthumously buried with honors that never touched soil. Valari placed a hand on his shoulder and spoke softly. Was here. He was one of the first. They wanted to see if a human mind could survive full extraction without destruction. Your brother fought them longer than any other subject. They could not break him, but they could silence him, and so they did. Rian's breath came harder, his fingers curled around the edge of the console, as if holding something still could stop everything else from moving. The machine blinked and showed one final clip, a recording left by Kale. His voice tired but clear, his face pale and marked by long wires stuck to his skin. If you are hearing this, then they failed to erase me. I knew someone would come eventually, maybe my brother, maybe a stranger. Either way, listen to me. The Empire is not what it says. It is they built their peace on lies and blood. They turned allies into tools and hope into silence. The message ended with static. Rian stood still for a long moment, then turned toward Valari. Where is his body? I need to see. I need to know. She nodded and walked ahead, leading him to a smaller chamber hidden behind thick walls marked with warning signs. The air inside was colder than ice, but not from temperature, from something else, something broken. In the center lay a sealed pod, not powered, but intact. Dust covered its surface, and inside lay a figure, still and silent, but unmistakable. Kale Draven, his body marked with scars, his face peaceful, his hands closed around a chip embedded into his skin. Rian opened the pod slowly, his gloves shaking as he removed the chip from Kale's hand and held it against his own wrist interface. The chip blinked once, then opened a stream of data across his visor: memories, plans, files, names, dates, all proof of what the Empire had done to aliens, to humans, to its own people. He looked at Valari and saw the same pain in her eyes mirrored back at him. What do we do with this if we leave this place? They will come for us, she answered without hesitation. Then we do not run, we spread it before they can find us. We let the galaxy see the truth. Suddenly, the ground trembled, the air cracked with energy machines. Long silent roared awake, the walls shook, and voices filled the station, screaming not in anger, but in warning. They know the truth is waking, and now they want it dead again. Rian grabbed the chip, the box, the last message of his brother, and turned toward the surface as the past began to rise. All around him, the creatures below the ground beneath Orbo's 9 groaned like an old beast waking from centuries of sleep. The rocks cracked, as if whispering to one another secrets long buried. The sky above burned gray and red like it too remembered the screams of those who once walked here. Rian ran behind Velari as the path shook beneath their feet, the memory box tied tightly to his back, the chip from his brother clutched in his glove. The wind howled not from weather, but from pressure building deep. Below they reached a narrow tunnel carved into the side of a broken hill where symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The entrance, once sealed, now broken open, as if something inside had clawed its way out. Velari stopped at the mouth of the tunnel, her eyes scanning the shadows, her voice like ice touched with fire. This is not a lab. This is where they threw what they failed to understand, what could not obey, what could not forget. Rian looked past her into the tunnel. A thick darkness moved there. Not still, but breathing like a living fog. Shapes shifted beyond the light, not clear, not solid, but present. They stepped inside, and the world above vanished behind them, the air thick with a strange cold, not of temperature, but of memory itself. The walls pulsed with the dull light, veins of old machines, still alive, still listening. Rian moved slowly, his boots sinking into soft ground like ash and flesh mixed together. Every step made the darkness move like waves. Every breath brought voices again. They whispered in pieces, words, broken thoughts, half-formed emotions cut into fragments. He heard children crying, mothers calling, soldiers praying, and somewhere beneath it all a scream that never stopped. Velari walked ahead, her hands tracing the walls, her voice low. They called them hybrids. They said they were mistakes, combinations of mind and form taken from both species, shaped without balance, trained without care. They were meant to be soldiers, but they became something else. Rian stopped near a large metal door, half open, its frame bent inward, as if something massive had forced its way through the space beyond it, darker than night. Stepped inside and saw them. They did not move at first, their bodies tall and thin, their skin marked by scars and metal, their faces a mix of human sorrow and alien hunger, their eyes glowing faintly blue, but without warmth. One of them looked at Rian and tilted its head the way a curious child might. Then it stepped forward, slow and silent, its mouth opened not to speak, but to release a sound like a broken radio. Then it said his name. Rian, the voice was layered, not one, not two, but many, all speaking together. His name stretched across space and memory. He stepped back, but Velari raised her hand and whispered, do not fear them. They remember pain, but they do not blame you. They blame the ones who made them and left them here to rot. The creature moved closer and held out something in its long hand, a data shard glowing red, its edges sharp like bone. Rian took it, and the creature stepped back, disappearing into the dark. Without another sound, the others turned and followed, without command, without fear, without anger. Just silence. Velari looked at the shard and nodded. This holds what they saw, what they felt. It will show you the truth of the lower depths, where the real machines hide, the ones still running, still experimenting, still waiting. Rian turned the shard in his hand, and a map projected from it. Layers of the planet shone in glowing red circles and lines. Far below their current depth lay a core chamber, pulsing with unknown energy, marked by one word source. He looked at Velari, his voice barely a whisper. What is it? She replied with only one sentence. It is where minds go when they are broken. The ground shook again, this time with rhythm, not random, not chaotic, but like footsteps, massive and slow. Something else had awakened, something that had waited for motion, for sound, for a signal. Rian tucked the shard into his suit and grabbed the memory box tighter. The walls around them pulsed faster, the lights turning from blue to red. The darkness now crawling with movement. The hybrids had returned, not with anger, but with purpose. Their bodies now blocking the exit, their faces calm, their eyes locked on Rian, as if asking for something. He understood. He nodded once. They moved aside silently, forming a path through the tunnel, a farewell without words, a gesture without sound. Rian and Velari climbed back toward the surface, the ground trembling below the pressure, growing the deeper truth waiting to be found. As they reached the outer ridge, Rian looked back one last time into the tunnel, where the creatures below watched without hate, without hope, only memory. And in that memory lived the cost of silence. The hidden lab. The air grew thinner as Rian and Valari moved toward the old mountain, where the rocks curled like ribs of a dead beast. The wind around them felt sharper now, not cold, but aware, as if it had watched too much, and now refused to stay quiet. The data shard from the hybrid's hand had revealed the final location, deep below the crust of Orbos. 9, a place marked as the source, where the experiments had not stopped, where something still pulsed with life. Stolen from others, they reached the entrance buried under dust and bone, an old cargo lift broken but still powered by ancient systems. Its lights flickering green and red like breathing eyes waiting for someone to step closer. Valari pressed her hand against the side panel and spoke in her own language, a series of tones that echoed through the rocks like music played backward. The doors opened with a sound like a sigh. The lift creaked as it descended, the walls around them made of glass and metal, the depths below glowing with soft blue veins like frozen lightning. The farther they dropped, the more the air shimmered with tension and memory. Rian looked down through the lift floor at the spiraling tunnels below, each layer deeper and more twisted, as if the planet itself had been carved by pain. When the lift stopped, the doors opened to silence. They stepped into a corridor untouched by time machines, still alive, lights still burning, the floor beneath their feet too smooth, too clean, as if waiting for guests rather than prisoners. Held the memory box close, his other hand brushing against the hilt of his weapon, though a part of him already knew bullets would be useless. Hera. Valari led him forward past rooms filled with pods, some empty, some still sealed, each one a story, each one a scream never heard. They entered a control center with walls covered in screens where images flickered between past and present humans and aliens strapped to tables, wires feeding into their skulls and eyes wide with frozen terror. A console in the center called to him, its surface lighting up the moment he stepped near it. He placed the memory chip from his brother into the slot, and the system awakened fully. The room filled with voices, not screams, not pain, but files, audio logs, video files, reports, thousands. Rian watched as the truth unfolded across the screens. Empire had created the project under a secret directive known as Echo Mind. Its goal was simple: to copy and weaponize the consciousness of the most powerful minds, human and alien alike, to create a new form of soldier that could think faster, feel nothing, and obey without question. The project had failed again and again, each failure buried beneath false reports. Each death turned into a heroic. Rian's brother Kale had uncovered the truth too late. He had tried to escape, but had been captured and used as a final test subject. His resistance unexpected, his mind too strong to erase. Valari stood beside him, silent, her face pale as her own mate's image appeared on the screen. A scientist, one of the few who had protested the experiments and paid with his life. Rian gritted his teeth as he watched the final message from Kale, his brother's voice. Calm but full of quiet rage. I hope someone sees this, not just for me, but for all of them, for every voice they tried to silence, for every life they turned into code. If you can hear me, then you know what must be done. The console flashed red as the system detected unauthorized access. A countdown began across the screen, warning of memory wipe in 60 seconds. Valari moved quickly to another panel, her fingers dancing across the keys and patterns known only to her. The lights dimmed, the alarms faded, the system paused. She turned to Rian, her voice steady. We can transfer the files to your ship. We can make sure this truth leaves the planet. But once we do, they will know. They will come for us with everything they have. Rian nodded without hesitation. Then we give them something to chase. They moved fast through the halls, now lights behind them shutting down one by one, as if the planet itself knew what they had taken. The lift groaned as it carried them back to the surface, and when the doors opened, they ran toward the ridge where the sky had begun to change. Black ships hovered in the distance, their shapes sharp like knives drawn in silence. They had come faster than expected, silent and sure like shadows that never forget. Rian pressed a device on his wrist, and the Lancer began its descent, engines roaring against the stillness of Orbos. 9. The hatch opened as they reached it, and Valari threw the box inside while Rian uploaded the last data files from the shard. The ground cracked behind them, machines below crying out in metal voices too deep to hear with ears, but loud enough to feel in bonias. The ship lifted into the sky. Rian looked down one last time at the mountain below, where memory and madness had become one, and in that moment he did not feel fear, he felt purpose. The truth must escape. The Lancer soared through the red sky of Orbos 9, its engines screaming against gravity and time. The ground below cracked open like a wound that refused to close. The mountain where the hidden lab had lived now trembling, as if the planet itself was trying to bury the truth once more inside the ship. Rian moved quickly between controls, his fingers dancing over switches while sweat rolled down his neck. Every screen showed warnings: enemy ships incoming, weapons locked. Coordinates traced his escape path, but he ignored the fear and focused on the data. Behind him, Valari stood silent, her eyes fixed on the memory box strapped beside the main console, her body still, her hands tight at her sides as if holding back more than just words. They had done what none before them had dared. They had entered the forgotten places, heard the voices left behind, seen the truth that had been covered in metals and lies, and now they carried that truth inside one fragile ship. Chased by silence wrapped in fire, the first enemy vessel appeared on the radar. A black shape without markings, without emotion, cutting through the sky like a blade. It fired without warning, and the ship shook as the blast struck the lower thrusters. Rian steadied the Lancer, his voice calm but edged with urgency. "We cannot outrun them unless we drop weight." Valerie stepped forward, her voice sharp like broken glass. "If we drop the box, we destroy the truth." Rian looked at her, his eyes full of a storm. He refused to release. "Not the box. I mean the walls, the cargo, the seats, everything. We do not need everything that is not alive." She nodded once and moved to the storage panel, pulling wires, ripping compartments, throwing metal and tools into the airlock. One by one, they emptied the ship until it felt like a skeleton flying through fire. Another blast shook the Lancer, the sky outside now filled with smoke and ash. As more ships arrived, silent, cold, without flags, without questions, only one mission: to erase what should never have been seen. Rian sent the files into backup copies, encrypted into fragments, hidden across the ship systems, each fragment carrying part of Kale's message, part of the experiments, part of the names of the dead and the forgotten. He opened a channel toward open space, his voice steady but burning. "This is Captain Rian Draven of the exploration vessel Lancer. I carry the memory of the dead and the voices of those erased by the Echo Mine project. I carry the truth. The Empire buried. I carry the voice of my brother who died resisting, and the voice of the alien widow who dared to speak when everyone called her mad." No one answered, but the signal went out across systems, bouncing through satellites, skipping across channels, reaching places the Empire could not watch fast enough. One blast struck the side of the ship hard, and the hull groaned under the pressure. Alarms screamed, and fire burst from the rear engines. The Lancer dropped altitude and spun through the air like a falling dream. Valari reached for Rian, her voice low. "We will not make it to orbit." Rian looked at her, the edges of his face lit by flame and fury. "Maybe not, but the truth will." He grabbed the backup drive and slid it into a launch capsule the size of his palm, a tiny vessel built for science samples, now repurposed to carry the soul of 1,000 voices. Locked its course toward a civilian relay station on the edge of the next sector, far from Empire control. He activated the launch sequence and the capsule fired into the sky, a single spark against the burning world below. The enemy ships moved to follow, but they were seconds too late. The capsule escaped into stars, untouched, unseen, unbroken. Inside it, the message of Kale Draven played on loop. "They will tell you I was mad. They will tell you I betrayed them. But I saw the truth, and I fought for it, and now you can too." Rian turned back to the controls, but a final blast ripped through the side of the Lancer. The console exploded in sparks and light. The sky outside flipped sideways, And the ship fell toward the burning ground of Orbo's Knight of Alari, reached for him not in fear, but in defiance. Her voice strong even as the fire consumed the air. We gave them the truth that is. More than most ever do. The ship crashed in silence. The ground shook once, then stilled, the fire rose, then faded, the enemy ships hovered, then vanished, the sky returned to gray. But in the dark between stars, the capsule flew on, guided by purpose, untouched by fear, carrying within it the voice of a brother, the memories of a widow, the names of the forgotten, the anger of the broken, and the hope of the brave. Somewhere out there, someone would hear it, someone would listen, someone would believe.